Good morning, dear students. So, after successful finishing of upper limb, now we are moving to lower limb. So, let's have few points on the introduction of lower limb. So, when you just look at the lower limb, you can very much clearly see and feel like lower limbs are bulkier and stronger than upper limbs. The anti-gravity muscles in the lower limb are much better developed. Like for example, in front of the thigh we have quadriceps femoris. At the back of the leg we have gastrocnemius and soleus, okay, which are very well developed. The fibula of the leg does not take part in the formation of knee joint. Patella, which is present right in front of the knee, okay, which is kneecap, it's a sesamoid bone developed in the tendon of quadriceps femoris. The foot has undergone maximum change during evolution. Now, if you just observe the great toe is like if you just look at your own feet, the great toe is in line with the remaining four toes, whereas the thumb we have seen it is in opposition. Okay, so opposition movement in the hand was quite important for the thumb for the purpose of gripping, holding, whereas such action is not required unless there are people who do not have properly functioning upper limbs and who have been using lower limbs for the purpose of eating, etc., as we see in YouTube videos. So, for such people, due to repeated use, the toes may be as well developed as the toes of the feet may be as well developed as the digits of the hand. Of course, this is an exception, but usually we see the great toe is in line with the remaining other toes. Okay, that means now the great toe is taking the major part in giving support to the body. That means it is helping in withstanding the body weight. Then, so what is happening during embryonic development? During early stages of development, the lower limb birds rotate medially through 90 degrees. The tarsal bones have become enlarged, they have become strong, and of course, they are wedge shaped, very much irregular shaped, which contributes to the stability of the foot, and they also help in the formation of the medial and lateral longitudinal arches of foot. The heel is becoming greatly enlarged and elongated to which is attached tendocalcaneus. This is one of the tendon which is formed due to the merging of the two muscles, that is gastrocnemius and soleus together. They form a tendon tendocalcaneus which is attached to the calcaneum, which is one of the bones of the tarsals. Everything will be elaborated as a separate lecture. You need not worry even if you are finding the terms new. Okay, so this tendon of the tendocalcaneus is actually helping to lift the heel in walking. Now let us summarize what are the various bones what we see here. See in the hip girdle region, okay, that is the pelvic girdle region, we will see hip bone. Okay, in the gluteal region, which is covering the sides and back of pelvis. Okay, it takes part in the formation of hip joint. So in the thigh region, we will see there is a bone that is the femur and also patella. Femur forms the knee joint, and so like inferiorly and superiorly it forms hip joint. So in the leg, we are finding two more bones. Medially, we are finding tibia and laterally we are finding fibula. Between the tibia and fibula, we have tibiofibular joints. Now in the foot, we have many tarsal bones, metatarsal bones and phalangeal bones. Tarsals are 7 in number. Names are talus, calcaneum, navicular, cuboid, and 3 cuneiforms, medial, intermediate and lateral cuneiform bones. Okay, so the inferior aspect of the tibia and the one of the tarsal bones, that is talus, it helps in the formation of ankle joint. Below the talus we have subtalar joint. Between the tarsals and the metatarsals we have tarsometatarsal joints. Between the metatarsals we have also intermetatarsal joints. And between the metatarsals and phalanges we have metatarsophalangeal joint. And between the phalangeal bones we have interphalangeal joints. We know like metatarsals are 5 in number, phalanges are 14 in number, because in the great toe we have 2 phalangeal bones and in rest of the 4 toes we have 3 phalangeal bones each. Now let us see how is the line of gravity which is moving. So it passes through the cervical vertebra, lumbar vertebra, and then passes behind the hip joint and in front of the knee and ankle joints. Now, weight transmission in one lower limb is, see, 30 kg of, suppose if the person is weighing around 60 kg of body weight, so one side of the body weight, suppose assuming is 30 kg, 30 kg is falling on one sacroiliac joint, so 15 kg is on heel, remaining 15 kg is on the anterior aspect of the foot, fore part of the foot. Like great toe is taking 5 kg, second to fourth toe, each is taking 2.5 kg body weight. So you can see it like this also. Great toe is 5 kg, remaining 4 toes 2.5 kg. Each heel is actually 15 kg, 15 kg in heel. Okay, 15 plus 15 overall sacroiliac joints distribution. Okay. Now, so the parts of the lower limb are the bones. What we see are the bone, femur, patella, medially tibia in the leg, laterally fibula, we have tarsal bones, metatarsal bones, and phalangeal bones. Now let us see what are the various peculiarities we have with lower limb. The longest and heaviest bone we have been studying since our schooling, that is femur. Most complicated joint in our body is knee joint. We have around 12 to 13 bursae around this joint. Longest muscle we have is sartorius. Largest muscle is gluteus maximus, which is used to give IM injections, intramuscular injections in the gluteal region. Longest and strongest tendon is tendocalcaneus. Thickest nerve is sciatic nerve. Longest vein is great saphenous vein. Arches of the foot we see with the foot medially, medial arch, laterally, lateral arch. These arches are so designed so as to distribute the body weights and to protect the underlying structures in the sole region. Muscle with maximum heads is quadriceps femoris, we see in the front of the thigh. Biggest sesamoid bone is patella. Longest cutaneous nerve also we encounter with the lower limb, that is the saphenous nerve. Thank you.